Hey guys, Stephen McCaugherty here with Heavy.com. I had the chance to speak with Greg La Rosa. Greg is Floyd Mayweather's bodyguard. He's been with Floyd for nearly 8 years now. Greg is a very well-known bodyguard of Floyd Mayweather. His name got out in the combat sports world after Conor McGregor called him a juicehead turkey during a press conference for when Conor boxed Floyd Mayweather back in 2017. So we spoke about the origins of how Greg got on with Floyd Mayweather. We also spoke about moments like the Jake Paul gotcha hat brawl that happened earlier this year. We also spoke about other things like when Greg was shot in 2018. We spoke about him becoming an American citizen. We spoke about the difference between boxing and MMA. So the interview starts with Greg breaking down the origins of how he met Floyd Mayweather and how he became a permanent staff member for Floyd. Enjoy.
I had started a security and hosting company of my own, and I started getting, private gigs, and I was making enough money. I was starting to do actually pretty well, to the point where I could rent a property, get a car, and all this kind of stuff. From there, 2014, I met Floyd, and through actually Ray that works with us, Jizzy Mack, and Floyd needed extra guys one weekend in Miami for the BET Awards, and I got a call from the assistant. She said, "Hey, Floyd's looking for extra people. Are you available to work?" And I said, "Absolutely, for Floyd, of course, right?" So I was here's the funny story. I had just come back from Kelowna. I did a job in Kelowna, because I flew home to Canada to make extra money back in my flooring company. I had just come home from Kelowna, BC to Las Vegas. It was like they're pretty long flight, got home, long day. I slept in. I probably slept till like 11:30 or noon, and I got a call. That's when I got a call from the assistant, saying, "Can you get down here?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. When do I need to get there?" She said, "I have a flight for you. I can book." She said, "I have a flight booked for you at this time." I looked at my watch. I'm like, "That's 2 hours from now." She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Just get backed up and head down." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Okay." So I literally pop out of bed, and I'm packing my clothes, and I'm on a plane to Miami to go work for Floyd Mayweather at this point. So I get there. I'm a bit nervous, obviously, because I don't know what to expect at this point. I land in Miami. I get there, and the couple of the security guys greeted me, and they already handed me some money. I'm like, I just landed, man. I haven't even met Floyd. I've seen Floyd before, all around Vegas. I've seen him a bunch of times. Right? Floyd is always out doing something, so you'll always see him. But I hadn't formally actually met him, obviously, right? So he already sent guys to come get me in the lobby of the Fontainebleau. I had my suitcase. I get inside the Fontainebleau. They greet me. They gave me money already. I'm like, haven't even worked yet. They're like, "Trust me, Floyd, this is how Floyd is." Just grab it. He goes, "Put your stuff in the room, change really quick, come back down." He was in Live in the club, and this is I'm not sure what day exactly it was. I think it was a Thursday or Friday, and so I drop off my stuff in the room. I throw on. They gave me a couple TMT T-shirts and stuff like that. I threw on a TMT T-shirt, threw on some pants, and went down to the club. And Floyd was already sitting there in the club. I went up to him and shook his hand, and then just kind of fell into position and looked out for him in the club. That weekend goes by. We did the BET Awards, whatever. That weekend goes by. Sunday or Monday, we get back home. At this point now, we go to the bank. I think it was on a Tuesday. He hands me a bunch of cash and just said, "I need you to stay with me." I said, "All right, sounds great." So for that specific weekend, he had hired, I don't want to say hired, he had called, I think it was about 7 or 8 extra guys for that weekend, because it was a very busy weekend. And I ended up being the only one that he kept on. So that was pretty cool. I felt, like I must have done something right. So when we got back today, since then, I haven't, I've probably seen him every day since then, minus a few days here and there, since I started working for him. So yeah, it's been a good, I'd say almost 8 years now or so.
So what do you think it is? Why do you think he kept you on? Could you point to a moment? Or, I mean, I'm assuming it, obviously your work ethic and everything, I'm sure, was the biggest part of it. But is there something that you can think of, or like that was the reason why Floyd wanted to keep me on?
That's a great question, actually. I've never actually had that question. I'm not exactly sure. I try to carry myself as a professional. I try to carry myself, respectfully. When I'm working, I'm 100% dedicated to what I do. I make sure I'm always looking around, always making sure he's good, giving him space. Maybe he liked, I guess, possibly he liked the way I conducted myself. It's not all about, walking around and bullying people, because that's the wrong way to be a security person. I've always had a way with, talking to people, or, not escalating stuff. You want to de-escalate stuff. That's the best tool that you can have, is your ability to de-escalate situations. I'd say that's the best tool a bodyguard or security of any sort can have. But he probably noticed a few of those situations, maybe where someone's walking up to him and said, "Hey, thank you, not right now," or instead of saying, "Hey, get the hell back," or something. Like there's some people that tend to be a little bit more aggressive, and not in our group. I'm saying like other groups or other security that anybody's seen around, like bouncers or stuff like this. Sometimes they might get a little stereotyped, because there's a few of them here and there that want to bully people because of their size, which is that's definitely the wrong thing to do. But probably took notice to some of my demeanor and my ability to talk to people, and kept me on.
What happened with your security company?
So I mean, that's just still it was still there, but I obviously never did anything in that anymore. And that security company itself was more of that was more of like on an on-call basis, where someone would come into town and I'd have to take care of them, or I have people that want to go to the club, or this and that, or I get calls from other friends in town who are security. It's like a network base of us that are like, "Hey man, there's these guys are going over here. Can you go take them there? Oh, these guys, maybe they're lawyers from the East Coast are coming in town, and they're having I still call it a stag, because we call it, in Canada we call it, or in Toronto we call it stags. What do they call it? Bachelor parties. Yeah. Some guys are having bachelor parties. So you would go and just make sure they're okay. But I just that kind of just fell off as soon as I met Floyd, because I was full time with Floyd, so all my time and energy was there with Floyd. And then at that point, obviously life changed very much. At this point now, I'm working for Floyd on call 24/7, 365 days a year. So now is that dinner on Saturday night you might have had planned, you no longer are planning any of this stuff. Now everything is on spontaneous, on call, including your own life. So now and Floyd is a very, I put it, Floyd's a very regular guy. Like when it comes to it, like in his personal life, I don't want to say regular, obviously, because he has so much money, he could do whatever he wants. The means that he has in terms of financially, can't do the things he can, but Floyd keeps it very, very, very regular. Like we go to hole-in-the-wall spots that's what he calls them, that's his favorite kind of restaurant. He likes hole-in-the-walls. He doesn't go to he does go to fancy restaurants sometimes, because sometimes it's people's birthdays or something, but if it's for Floyd or something like that, he doesn't like the fancy restaurants and that stuff. Like he doesn't really like that much. He likes his hole-in-the-walls. He'll go for his, he'll be like, let's go to the rice and bean spot, or let's go here. He's very regular. They say, "Hey, Floyd, I have a room in the back for you." "No, I want to sit right here." "Floyd, you want to come in the back door?" "No, let's go in the front door." "Floyd, do you need a car pulled up to the front?" "No, I'm just parking right over here." He's just like you and I. Like if you feel like, you get hungry in 2 hours, you're like, "Oh man, I'm hungry. What do I feel like eating today?" "All right, I'm going to go over here." So then as soon as he feels like doing that, then he needs to call us, and I need to get there before him, just to make sure that, I greet him there to walk him in. So let's say anything, for example, like he says, "Hey Greg, let's go to let's go to Burger King and McDonald's or something. This one over here. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I'll get there, and I'll get there before him, and and he'll just go in and hang out and eat, and then leave, and then we wait to see what we're doing next. Sometimes he'll just be like, okay, I'll call you guys in a little bit, and then he goes home. Or sometimes he'll say, okay, follow me, let's head over here. Or sometimes he'll just say, follow me, we don't know where we're going. Or he'll say, okay, meet me at the underground parking over here. Or sometimes it's planned ahead of time, sometimes it's not. He's just very, very, very it's very, very spontaneous with him. So there's no schedule, no nothing. It's not what people think.
Man, yeah.
But Floyd is also...
Let's go ahead.
I was going to say he's also a lot different than other celebrities, because I know, a lot of the bodyguards of other celebrities were like performers, for example. You're working from, let's say, for example, you're working from 7 p.m. till midnight. Pick me up at this address. We're going to this address. We're going through this entrance, and we're going here. Boom. Everything is like scheduled. You have an exact schedule. You know when you're off. You know when you're on. We're traveling these dates to this date. With Floyd, it's like you'll be, sitting at home eating or watching TV, and it's like, hey, get packed up. We're heading here for a week. Okay, boom. We're packed up, and we're on a flight in 3 or 4 hours. Boom, we're going here. So it's so different. He's hands-on. Like, he goes to the bank and he pays us. He drives his own cars most of the time. He's picking, like, where to go in and what to do. We're just kind of there to make sure he's okay, as opposed to like other places, like they'll make an itinerary for a lot of these guys. Where Floyd's more, what I want to say is Floyd is more organic in terms of like the celebrity world. He's more organic with his life. He'll live his life like you and I do.
Having a sporadic job like that maybe could burn you out sometimes, but it sounds like you have, just by the way you're talking about it, sounds like things are going really well with him. Hey? And although that you're always on call, it sounds like everything, he makes it work and you make it work.
Yeah, it is. It's a fast-paced lifestyle. It doesn't work for everyone. I'll tell you that right now. Actually, it probably wouldn't work for many people. There's a lot of people that see me and they're like, man, how do you do that? That's tough. It's like they can't. Like a lot of people that have certain obligations in their life. I mean, you can't. Certain obligations don't go together with this job. Like, let's say, I don't know, for example, you're just starting out with Floyd and you just had a child or something like that. Now you're on the road 24/7 and you can't attend to your child. It's just not going to work for people like that. Or if you have somebody who needs attention at home, like an elderly or sick or someone, you won't be able to do this type of a job, because this type of a job, you're literally giving up your personal life in that sense to do this. It's not easy. It's not for everyone. That's for damn sure. But it's for the people that can handle the fast pace. It's for the people who don't want to be at the same desk or the same place every day. Sometimes we're up, like 24 hours a day running around doing stuff. So, and then you'll get home and you'll lay in bed finally, and then it's like, boom, you get another call. We got to go somewhere else right away. And we didn't know, it's obviously not planned or not scheduled. So it has tons of energy. He's definitely not easy to keep up with. Imagine, you see him in the ring and he doesn't get tired after 12 rounds. He can probably go 24 rounds without even breaking a sweat. So, I mean, he carries that onto his personal life where he's got a lot of energy. You got to keep up with this. And he doesn't have energy like just the average person. Obviously, he's obviously TBE for a reason. So, he transfers that kind of energy to his personal life. And, it's a lot of work. But I always see it as a blessing, because this position, there's people that would be dying to have this position, right away. So it's definitely a blessing. And working with Floyd, it's not like your typical boss-employee relationship. It's more like, we're like brothers, we're family. And, he treats us like family. Like he treats me like his brother. Like we'll go to, for example, we'll go overseas to Maldives or Bora Bora, or we're in Egypt, or we're wherever we are, like Morocco, or like the rooms I get, I would never be able to afford on my own, or like I would never pay for those obviously on my own. I mean, I get rooms sometimes that are $6,000 and $7,000 a night. You know, you have to be pretty damn rich to afford that on a regular basis. So, for example, like when I'm in Maldives or Bora Bora, I'm not off on like the little hotel on land. I'm in the water with you know, the glass floor, and I'm looking at stingray under my feet, like where all the celebrities stay. I'm in those places. So it's not just, you know, your average run-of-the-mill stuff that I personally would get, and every flight is a first-class flight. I'm on flights like in going to Dubai. I have my own little like room on the plane. I would never see that before. Those flights there, those are like $25,000 round-trip flights at times. So it's not like the experience I get through the hustle and bustle is beautiful. It's a beautiful experience because you'll never, like I would personally never see that kind of stuff. I'm not paying $25,000. I don't know if you would, but I'm not paying $25,000 for a flight just to go to Dubai and back. I'll get the business class maybe for like, you know, $6,000 or $8,000, and that would even, you know, that's even expensive. But you know, I get to see cool stuff like that, like train rides. You're you know, you're in the first class, or everywhere I go, it's first class treatment. So I basically live the lifestyle of an A-class celebrity. So I see what it's like. I feel like what it's like, and it's nice that he treats me that way. So obviously, our relationship feels much less like a typical employee boss situation. It feels more like, you know, friendship. So when there are situations that happen, I'll definitely go, you know, above and beyond no matter what, because, you know, like I see him as a brother, so I'm not going to let anything happen to him.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, especially with your line of work, that's really important to have that sort of relationship with your boss, but also, you know, you guys throughout the 7 to 8 years, it really sounds like you guys have really developed such a close relationship, which I mean makes sense. You guys are like what you said earlier. You've seen him pretty much every day since you got that job. I don't know how like personal you want to get into your life, but like managing a job like this, like, you know, you just described like all of the amazing perks of doing something like this, and I'm sure if somebody's in the security industry, like this is as enviable of a job as you can get. But like, how do you manage your personal life? Like, do you have kids? Do you have a woman in your life? Like, how do you manage these things? And then also be there for Floyd when he needs you.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So I do. I've been with the same girl before I started working for Floyd. So I've been with the same girl for almost, oh geez, I'm getting old. almost 10 years at this point. Yeah, she's my fiance now. You know, like I've been with her, and she, at the beginning, it was, you know, hard for her to understand. You know, I'm not there all the time, but obviously over the time, she got used to it, understood, and, you know, I've created a lot better life for us, financially, obviously, and she works as well to keep herself busy. But in my spare time, you know, I have horse property out here in Las Vegas. I have horses out here, so our things are all outdoor stuff. So I have horses. I have you know, those Polaris Razor off-road cars. You heard of those things?
No, I haven't.
Oh, they're like those side-by-side, like dune buggies. They're kind of like,
gotcha.
Those side-by-side ones that fly through the desert. I have a couple of those. We go in the middle of the desert. So all my stuff that I do here is outdoors. Boating. I take the boat to Lake Mead over here, or hit the desert with off-road cars, or we go riding the horses, maybe in the mountain. Like we have Mount Charleston, they call it over here. It's nice, cooler weather up there. We'll take the horses up there and go riding or by the house here. There's a couple horse parks and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't like going to clubs like for my own thing. I don't like going to clubs on my own. I don't like, I don't really go to like fancy restaurants. I don't like to be on the strip at like pretty much at all, unless I'm working or with Floyd. I just like to stay in like less populated areas. I love to be kind of like out there on my own, more country living, more serene living, and you know, everything I do is outdoors, and I enjoy doing all outdoor activities. That's my favorite pastime. Like even if it's just sitting outside where there's just like me in the middle of the desert, that's a great time to me. Yeah. So I guess that's probably also because of, you know, how action-packed my life is from work. But I've always liked the outdoors. I just have a much more, I appreciate it much more when I do get the time to enjoy it. So it just feels so much better to be, you know, out there flying maybe, you know, 60, 70 miles an hour through the desert or something in an off-road car. It feels great. That's my rush. That's the rush I get. Or relax and ride the horses, you know, through the mountains, or, you know, or be at the lake and just be on the beach at the lake and relaxing and be one with nature. It's the appreciation value is much more than it probably ever was in my life. So that helps in a sense too, to, you know, shows the appreciation of life itself. I pretty much have, it's almost like you kind of have two lives, kind of. You know, I have my own personal life and I have my work life, but they're both my personal life because, you know, that's like my friend and, you know, obviously my friend, my boss, but, you know, Floyd, that's also my personal life, I consider too, because we're doing a lot of stuff like we go skating or we're going to the movies, and, you know, that sometimes is, you know, sometimes it's not work. Sometimes we're just kicking back and relaxing at, you know, at quote unquote work, you know, when I'm, you know, I'm in a theater that he rents out and I'm on a recliner chair eating chocolate almonds or something like that. And that's not really, you know, that's not really work. We rented the whole theater out, and that's like my personal life at that point. So, tied in all in one, you know, I have the crazy hustle, you know, the hustle of the limelight. Then we have our relaxed work life, and then I have my own personal life at home. And obviously now I just started, I just got my real estate license. Well, last year I got my real estate license. I'm also doing that now. I've always had a passion for buying and selling homes since I was in Toronto. I have multiple homes out here in Las Vegas. I'm a landlord. I'm a homeowner, obviously. I love helping people find homes. I love making people's dream of owning a home come true. If people want to invest, I'm very good at helping them find like investment properties and stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely another thing that I added into already my busy life. So I don't know why I do it to myself sometimes, but I do. I guess being an immigrant and, you know, hustling to become a citizen has just like kind of changed everything. You know, you can kind of get relaxed sometimes in life. I never really relax in life. I continue to achieve. I always want more. I was actually looking into possibly looking into the military as a part-time reserve. I actually just looked into this recently after I got my citizenship, and they said that 42 is the cutoff time. I'm 41 now. So I was considering possibly offering some sort of service to the military or to the country in some capacity to kind of give back, to kind of say thank you in a sense, I guess, for, you know, for the opportunity to become American and the opportunities I got in the United States. You know, it's obviously changed my life. Growing up Canadian has obviously given me, you know, that foundation of like my strong roots. You know, my strong roots of being Canadian have you know, transferred over here and got me to where I am today, I think. Obviously my family, they're, I'm born in a Italian-born family. I'm obviously born in Canada. My entire family, outside of me, I'm first-generation Canadian. They're all born in Italy. So, like, the very traditional, strong roots of being Italian and, being in Canada, the culture really strengthened me. And that's part of the reason why I never gave up and came back to Canada when the times got hard over here, because I don't like failure. I feel in my head that that's not an option. I'm going till the wheels fall off. So I remember one point I was talking to my mom, and I never really told my family much of what was going on in the hard times, because I didn't want them to worry. But I would give them a little just say kind of, hey, yeah, like right now I'm just over here. I'm looking for a place. It's just tough because I don't have credit, so I got to find, I got to make this money to do this. And my mom at one point just said, why don't you just come home? You have a business here, and you have a very successful business over here, and just come home. And I was like, but if I come home, then I'm defeated. So that doesn't work for me. So I'd rather establish myself, and at that point, if I wanted to go home, then I'll go home, because now I did it on my own terms, not dictated by failure. So failure was not an option, and that's part of the roots that we have. I think being Canadian and being Italian, and my specific roots being Italian, transferred to that mentality I have over here now, and I continue to strive to get more, not to get more, to do more. It's like, and then obviously working under Floyd, you see what he's achieved with his two hands coming from nowhere. I've been to his hometown in Grand Rapids. Like, you see I've been to his house where he grew up, and you see it, and you're like, not that it's a bad house or anything. It's just that they don't have a lot of stuff where he grew up. So he grew up, what he called, he grew up in the hood. He didn't have much growing up, but to see what he's done with his two hands to get to where he is, it's like, at what point do you look at him, and then you look at yourself and you say, okay, what's your excuse? He has the same 24 hours in the day as you do. And he'll tell you this, everything's patience. Just keep working hard. Don't take shortcuts. He goes, I never take shortcuts. He goes, you got to work hard and have patience. So I've always worked hard. That's one thing he taught me, is the patience. Then work hard, have patience, never quit. So being around him is so inspirational that you just continue to do it. It's like, come on, he can do it, I can do it too. And he'll tell you that. He goes, great, you can do it. You can do this. You can do anything you want. Because if you don't, someone else will. Why can't it be you? You always think, the average person is going to think to himself, I can never be a millionaire. I can never be a billionaire. Like, these guys are so lucky. Look how lucky they are. It's not about luck. Yeah. It's not like in a lot of cases. It's about hard work. And you see that in him. There's just no more excuses after that when you're around him. It's just, you can't even come up with a viable excuse to say why you're not doing something. For example, like my real estate thing, I probably should have got that years ago, because I love buying and selling real estate, and I was getting houses for myself. I probably would have made a lot more. I would have done better in my deals for real estate on my own. But I always say better late than never. But that's one thing I did, was I said, I've got to get this. I got to get this real estate life. So I did it, and I had to go to school while I'm working full time. I got my home life. I got my work life. I'm doing this real estate business online, going through classes, tests, all this stuff. Then I finally went for the test, like the national and the state test, and I passed that with like a 93% on my first try. And most people, actually, I think it's 51% of people fail on their first try, and there's a lot of people do multiple tests to pass these real estate exams. So that was another pretty damn proud moment. I came out of that testing center extremely happy, because I'm part of this Facebook forum where they all kind of support each other. A lot of people are like, I want to give up. I went 5 and 10 times, and it can be discouraging, but I continue to use my motivation between work or where I'm from or what I've been through to achieve what I have now. And I went, I studied, and I got a very, very, very high mark, which was great. Now, obviously, I'm a real estate agent, helping people buy and sell homes, on top of working full time with Floyd. on top of having a full-time home life. We're trying. I don't have kids yet, but that's my next thing. So probably I'm hoping, within a year or so, I'll have a kid. So now that'll be another challenge that maybe that's for an interview from a year and a half from now, that I'll be discussing those challenges. But I'll make it work. I'll make anything work. There's nothing I can't do. Nothing's impossible. And that's something I always try to tell people as well. If you want it, get it. Nothing's impossible. I know so cliche to sound. Everybody on TV or that you see, the Olympics, they'll say, I just don't quit. Just keep going. Everybody says it. Or your boxers or any sports person or anyone who's achieved a lot of things in life, they say the same thing. But I mean, it's hard not to, because it's literally perseverance. I call it stubborn persistence. You just don't quit. Just continue to strive and don't quit. And definitely the one thing that Floyd's always told me is have patience, because patience is going to take you past those hurdles. You can't just say, oh, this is a bad thing, I quit. No, you got to have patience. You got to keep working and keep going through it. So yeah, definitely being around him has helped change my mindset a lot. Seeing him in training camp, for example, he trains like he's broke. And I'm not saying that because I work with them. I tell people, hey, look, like close friends of mine or people that I might know through my network that have met Floyd, that want to come watch him train one day. I'll bring them by the gym. Like, some of them are NFL players or NBA players, and they come and they're like, their jaws are dropping on the floor, looking at how hard this guy's training. They're like, what the heck is going on here? He trains like he's broke. Like, every single fight that he trains for is like his first and last fight he's ever done, and it's for all the marbles. Basically, it's like you're going for everything, or you're going for broke. So that's his mentality he's always had. So never take shortcuts. Always keep striving for better, and you see it through his everyday life. So being around it, you got no excuses. So you better keep going and keep doing what you dream to do, and don't give yourself excuses. Don't let him hear any excuses. Because if he can do it, you can do it. Anyone else can do it. It's just all about hard work and perseverance and having patience and just trusting the process.
Just following you on social media, you can see you've done a really good job at leveraging your star power also. And I mean, I'm sure you've pulled a lot of that stuff from how Floyd's been able to do it, right? Obviously Floyd's one of the biggest pay-per-view stars ever. You've done a really good job at leveraging your star power as well. I mean, you got over 100,000 followers, I think, on Instagram alone. What did you pull from Floyd, and how has that helped you in your life? Because I mean, it'd be very easy, I'm assuming, for someone to work as security and then just kind of just do that and have that as their life. But you got your real estate stuff. You got the ranch. So I guess break it down for me. Why is it important to leverage your star power like that, and what have you pulled from Floyd Mayweather from that?
Those are great questions. The one that came to mind right away is his ability to, he can handle anything basically. Like when you see him in a promotion, like for example against Conor McGregor, when Conor McGregor's talking to him and he's talking all this trash to Floyd, that doesn't even get to Floyd, not even one single little bit. And you can tell when things get to people. Like, you can tell that Conor McGregor, stuff was getting to him. He gets emotional. Floyd doesn't have that kind of emotion. He is a professional through and through. He's been in this situation so many times, and it's a very important thing to be able to not deflect, but just be able to brush off everything that people say about you. Because obviously the position I'm in now, I have so many haters. All his haters become my haters. That's number one. Then I have my own haters. Then, so... And, I don't like to just say, oh, you're haters this, haters that, but they kind of gauge where you are in your success. As messed up as that sounds, they gauge where your success is at. The more people you have saying negative things to you, now you know you're doing something right. So Floyd told me once, and I'm sure he said this many times in interviews, he'll always say, he goes, whether they talk good or talk bad about you, doesn't matter as long as they talk. He said, so that's how you stay. That's basically, how you stay relevant. He said, so he goes, I don't care if people want to see me win or lose. The people that want to see me win are going to pay to watch me. The people who want to see me lose are going to pay to watch me. He didn't necessarily say, I don't care. He said, it doesn't matter if they want to see me win or lose, they're going to pay. So he's been able, like, imagine all the things that people say about him or to him and how much he needs to endure. And I see it literally does not affect this man at all. And I can tell if something even remotely affects anyone. And I've learned a lot from him and the way he speaks to people, or like to media, obviously, and in promotional events, like for him, fights and stuff like that. I see the way he talks. I see the way his energy is, his demeanor. It just doesn't affect him. Like when Conor was saying his rant, for example, he's on his phone and he's literally like, we'll be playing dominoes. Like him and I'll play dominoes on the phone, on a phone app that we have. We'll play with a bunch of the other guys on the team as well. He'll be playing dominoes or just like checking out the internet somewhere. And he's been there so many times, nothing affects him. So like they're trying to get in this man's head. You cannot do that. It's absolutely 100% impossible. So even like, even if you see him, like it looks like he's getting angry or something, he's not. It's just it's just kind of part of the process. He's in terms of that, he's impervious. He's like, you can't penetrate that barrier, like even when Conor touched his head, let's say, or something, like, and he walked by and he's like, no problem. This is what it is, no problem. But, that's definitely transpired into the way I go about having people that are like obviously negative towards you. Obviously, I appreciate everybody who supports me and the loyalty of people like that stand by me. I like to call them supporters, not fans, because I feel like they're supporting me in my journey with me. I like to take people that are that support me, where other people might call them fans. I call them supporters. I like to take them on my journey because I've been blessed in this life and I'm no different than them. And I want to show them, it's like, hey, look, this is how it feels. Like, look, guys, this is where we went. I'll do a lot of question and answer things on my page. I try to answer everything. It gets hard after a while because, I have, I think I'm up at almost 150,000 followers now. And it's all organic. They're all organic roles. It's nothing like that I've been tagged in some lottery that people get, and a whole bunch of these people have, fake followers. Everything is extremely organic with me. I try to answer, all the questions on a question and answer I have. And people feel real good to be able to have some sort of line to Floyd in that sense. And I'll try to, answer as many questions as I can. And, over time, I started realizing a lot of people are actually supporting my journey, which is great, and I feel like I'm helping people. I've gotten many messages that people are like, you're an inspiration. I wanted to quit and do this, but I kept on going, whether it was a job or working out or their family life. And that makes me feel real good that like I'm actually helping change people's lives and their perspectives and, helping them be motivated. A lot of people say I'm an inspiration. I'm like, what the hell? What am I doing? When it's happening to you, you don't feel like you're the one I don't really feel like I'm doing anything different. I'm kind to people. I'm kind to people. I like to show people like what I have, not to brag, but I like to take them into my life to show them like, this is what it feels like, guys. Cause I know what questions people that might not have this blessing have. I know their questions. Their questions are like, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to hang out with Floyd every day? What does it feel like? Oh my God, that's so cool. What does it feel like to walk to the ring? Or what does it feel like when everybody's screaming in the audience and you're right there? And so I'm trying to answer all these questions. I'm like, guys, you know what? When you're in the life, it's become part of your life. Anything you do if you do enough of it, it just becomes normal, and it's just regular. So like these celebrities aren't like what you think. Like they're not, oh my God, yeah, the celebrity guys walk around and they're like going crazy with their fame and stuff like that. There's a lot of them that they're just regular people, and they just want regular lives, and they go outside. Sometimes even Floyd he literally looks at me sometimes and he says, damn, I forget. He goes, Greg, sometimes I forget that I'm famous. I go out the house, he's like, oh man. He goes, I need to call my security. I forgot that I'm famous. So, he's just a regular guy. So that sometimes you go out and you got people like throwing phones in his face with a bright light on it, saying, give me a picture, and they don't, like sometimes if there's like 100 people or 1,000 or 3,000 people around, I can't say, hey, this guy gets a picture and you don't. The rest of everyone's going to go crazy. They're going to be mad. So now I'd be fighting against an entire crowd. Like if there's a few people here and there, he'll take a picture, but like or if there's a kid in the crowd that there's like, there's only a couple kids, he'll be like, okay, let me take a picture with those kids. Or if there's someone supporting his TNT brand, he makes an exception for that. But sometimes he does the best he can, but a lot of people expect celebrities to be these, almost like robotic figures where they're not really human. They have to do what you say, and it's like, and then then the fan becomes the victim if you don't get a picture, for example. But this is part of what I try to tell people, like, these are regular people. We go through life every day. You'll have one person who says, Floyd's bodyguards are, or assholes, and for the lack of a better word, and you'll have, like most other people, be like, oh, wow, when I met them in person, they're all very good guys, and the people that have stuff negative to say may have been in a mall where there's, 300 people crowding around us, and the security's telling us, guys, please keep it moving. We're crowding up, and, it gets dangerous for trampling people. So I'll be like, guys, we can't take any pictures. Guys, we can't. Floyd will just be waving at everyone. And then the person I said we can't take any pictures might take offense to it. But it's a lot better than me saying, hey, this guy over here can get a picture. Okay, let's get the picture or whatever. Floyd says, okay, let's take a picture with this person. And then that person has a son, and now he's like, what about my son? Why is my son not good enough? Then it's a fight. So you either have to kind of go all out or almost none at that point. So those are the kind of struggles and stuff I deal with every day. And it's not about kind of, it's never about bullying or pushing a crowd. It's always about, talking to people and de-escalate situations and let them know, hey, listen, like, if I give you one, and I'll literally explain this to them. If I give you one, and I've said this, I've explained this 10,000 times in my career. If I give you one, then I got to give all them one, and then it's going to cause a ruckus, and it's going to be like the crowd's going to get rowdy, and it's going to cause a lot of tension. People might get hurt. I can't give you one and not him one. So they're like, okay. At that point, they'd be like, okay, I understand. But there'll be someone who's aggressive that wants to get by me to Floyd because they're such big fans, which I understand. So I'll stand in front of them. Now I'm standing in front of them between, their dream of getting to Floyd and Floyd. So now I'm this person. So how are you going to feel if you want to get to know? Now I have to be this bad guy that's in between. So now how do I become not the bad guy? So I literally explain to them, hey, listen, like, for example, I'll have a conversation with them and say, what do you do for a living? And then they'll tell me. I'll say, listen, I'll never come to your work and run through a line and come back there and do that at your job. This is how I make my money. This is how I support my family. I said, please respect that. I have to do this because if I don't, then there's no point in my job. So most of the time, 99.9% of the time, they understand that. And they'll say, okay, that's fair. I understand that. It's hard to argue with reason, so you have to use reason with people because people are, regular people want to hear, regular responses from us. Like if I just tell them, hey, back up, and I just push someone, that's bullying people. And now you haven't de-escalated a situation. You've possibly escalated a situation. Maybe you push somebody's brother, somebody's father or something. Now there's a problem. Now there's 3 or 4 people that say, hey, what the hell? He did this. Or, you don't want that. That's not what it's to be a security or bodyguard for these celebrities. It's about de-escalating a situation, being able to talk to people and being able to give them their space without having to use physical and to use anything physically, to be honest. But obviously, if some people try to come at him, you got to stand in front. You got to be that wall. So, there's that little fine line, but yeah. But that's like a main thing I tell people is that these people are just, they're regular people, but Floyd has always found a way, not found a way, I don't want to say found a way, but I've always noticed that Floyd has never been, like, nothing gets to him. Like, he'll go and say a speech, or he'll go and do one of the press conferences for the fight, and then we'll go backstage and we'll just be laughing and be like, again, how's that? Yeah, we're just joking around about it. It does not affect, he doesn't go in the backstage and like punching a wall or something, or getting mad, or like, this guy did this or that. No, he doesn't, none of that. Like, it's gone. As soon as it's gone from that, it's gone. He goes back there, we're laughing about it. He's like, Greg, I do this. This is what I do. I've been doing this for years. He goes, I'm a pro. So I definitely take that. That's what stands out, and that's what I tell a lot of people. I take that from him. That's how I handle a lot of the critics. But I turn critics and haters into people that have to see what you're doing now, and that's what he does. Mm-hmm. So I've taken that kind of recipe, and I'll always tell him, I'm like, champ, I'm taking your blueprint. I got to. I said, it works. Obviously you're doing something right? So I actually have a lot of people that message me and say, hey, I actually hated you at first, but seeing your Instagram, you actually seem like a really nice guy. Or when I do an interview, they're like, you seem like a down-to-earth guy. I said, I'm just a Canadian, I'm just a Canadian-born guy. We're not, we're nice people. I'm just a Canadian-born guy, just a regular guy. I said, but you might see the worst of me. Or like, if Conor had so many fans, when I had that altercation with Conor, I looked crazy on there. And and him and I were arguing back and forth. But in my head, I'm like, this is great. I'm literally arguing with Conor McGregor on the biggest stage of the biggest sporting event to ever take place. And I believe it's bigger than the one that the Pacquiao fight, because of streaming. Because the streaming 2 years later was a little bit more advanced. So I literally had the best seat in the house. I'm standing between Floyd and Conor McGregor arguing with each other. Like, there's nothing better than that. So like, I'm at this point, Conor's giving me his attention, calling me, Juice Head Turkey or whatever. And in my head, I'm like having the best time of my life. And, it's like I want to say like a sporting event, like for us, where, I don't know if you're a hockey fan, I watch hockey, obviously. There might be a sporting game on TV, and, your buddy's at your house, and you're on one couch, he's on the other, and you're cheering against each other. There's going to be a couple swear words going back and forth, and you suck, but it's never like you actually are angry or hate the person. You're just trying to, it's just the emotions of the sport that are, you're cheering for your boy. Like, that's your brother up there about to go fight this guy. So it was such a good experience. I felt super blessed to be right center stage, literally, center stage, best seat in the house. And someone like the magnitude of stardom of Conor McGregor giving me their attention on stage. So something like that just kind of like falls right off the shoulder. And from there, like, not from there, before that and including that, I just kept on learning from Floyd in terms of how to deal with critics and people that kind of hate on you or want to see you fail. And then eventually I noticed that they start becoming supporters, as I call it. I have a lot of like Irish fans that, Irish supporters that like message me and say, oh, when you come to Ireland and blah, blah, when you're doing this, you're great, you're cool, you're a good sport, we razzed you, but you're a great sport. So I started noticing, the more you don't let things affect you, the less people can continue to razz you for some stuff, like for certain things. Like, I literally have on my Instagram thing, I put, it's Mr. Juice Head Turkey to you. So if you're going to call me it, then just call me it, but make sure you put Mr. in front of it. Because if you're going to give me that name, you're going to put Mr. in front of it. I just make light of it. It doesn't bother me one bit. I'm 100% natural. I'm 100% natural, which no one believes. Like when I'm like, all right, so let's do like USADA. USADA is the I don't know if you're familiar with USADA, but USADA is the one who does all the steroid testing and all the performance enhancing testing. Yep, and sure. I guess when Conor actually came up to me on the stage in Brooklyn, he said, "You're a Jew," like he called me a Jew head. And I said, "No." I said, "Never." I said, "We can go backstage right now. I can bet you $100,000. I'll bet you anything you want. I'll piss clean right now. I'll bet you anything you want." I said, "But you do the same." And then I said, "Put on a shirt when you're standing next to me. You're embarrassing yourself." So I told him that kind of stuff. He left. He's like, "Well, I don't know if he thought I was going to be scared or back down or just like be quiet because it's, you know, part of the part of his and Floyd's show." But I wasn't gonna take him like just like coming up to me and, you know, saying that I'm on juice or whatever, because he was calling me juice. But I liked that he did that. The fact that he did that, I mean, all he did was just give me, you know, he gave me a lot of recognition. He put me on center stage. I don't care if people think that I'm on or off. I don't care. That doesn't bother me one bit. The fact that they say, "Oh, look at this guy here on juice," actually it makes me feel good, because obviously I'm doing something right. And I literally told him, I'll bet him $100,000. We'll go backstage right now and I'll piss clean. So, I mean, that can apply to anyone. If anyone wants to give me a call and I mean, whatever, we can go through lawyers. If you want to make a good bet on it, we could do that. If you're really, really that curious, we could do that. We'll get a USAT this, put that money up, and I guarantee you I'll piss clean.
Would you say that Conor moment with the juice head turkey thing, is that the most important moment in your career?
Highlight. It's a highlight. That's the highlight of the career. Yeah. By far the highlight of my whole career. There's no way I'd even pretend that it's not. That was the best moment of everything I'd done. That's the center stage of it was all eyes on that fight. The universe stopped. That fight was happening. It was me, center stage. You cannot ask for a better moment. You cannot ask for more of an involvement. We were directly involved. You know, I was all of a sudden like, media wants to talk to us more, and it's a cool experience. It's a cool experience. You know, at this point now, I'm used to it, but back then it was a little bit more relatively new to be on that platform of that magnitude. It was a very cool experience. I was just very grateful that I was included in it. I see it as a blessing. I have no hate towards anybody. Conor's one of the best promoters on this planet, self-promoters on this planet. He did a great job. But in terms of like what we were talking about earlier, I think the emotions get to him, but they definitely don't get to Floyd. That's the difference between them two. You know, both professionals, both conducted themselves I would say professional. I know there's a lot of profanity, but you know, they kept, you know, the whole event got kept together. It was good. You know, before everything, no one fought, and you know, they got to the ring and they did their thing and they made mega money. So yeah, that's definitely the highlight of my career. Between that whole thing, like there was one point, it was so cool. The Irish fans are such good fans. They're so passionate. I was actually at the weigh-ins for the Conor Floyd thing, and not realizing, you know, Conor actually posted me on his page. He said the two juice head turkeys in the back do nothing. And I remember he did that. I said, "Oh, look what he just did." I said, "Really, this guy?" I said, "Great, post me on your page." Now you're making me bigger. So the weigh-ins, that was in July when we were doing. I remember this, July of 2017, when we were doing the promotional stuff, the press conferences, and then in August, the day before the fight, the weigh-ins. I remember coming out. The place was packed. It was packed. People had Irish flags everywhere. They were going nuts. It was great. When I walked out, Floyd was still in the back waiting. I was walking out to clear an aisle or to get our TMT people in a certain section. I went out, and the whole crowd started pointing at me and saying, "That's Juice Head Turkey," and they all knew who I was, and it was ridiculous. I'm like, looking at them, I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Really?" So they actually at one point were chanting "Juice Head Turkey." The whole crowd. It was ridiculous. They were chanting "Juice Head Turkey," but they're so cool. I don't know how they stay in. I don't know how the Irish fans stay in like unison. They were like saying it loud, "Juice Head Turkey, Juice Head Turkey," and then all of them went down to a whisper, "Juice Head Turkey, Juice Head Turkey," and then they escalated it up. I was like, "This is great." I said, "This is awesome. I said, this is awesome. Yeah, I had a couple of my friends. Actually, my girl was actually there, and she was laughing. She was like, what the hell? She didn't even realize, she doesn't realize the magnitude of it. And she does, like, she's not around often. Like, she's been around it for, years, so she doesn't really like, hey, let me come there. Hey, let me come there. She's around once in a while, but I told her, hey, come the way and check it out. It's great. This is history. So she came and she saw that as well, and it was great. Like, I think there's a couple of videos out there where they're like chanting "Jews Head Turkey," and I'm like orchestrating them, like I'm like an orchestra conductor, and I'm just like, yep, keep going. I'm like, this is great. So it was it was a pretty cool experience. You feel a little bit of what maybe a celebrity feels like.
I wanted to, it's kind of a decent segue here, because I wanted to ask you, Greg, about the Logan Paul, Jake Paul gotcha hat moment, because, Floyd, as you've been saying, Floyd is so good at kind of keeping his emotions in check. Watching it, as a fan of the sport, but also a media member, it did seem like Floyd did get quite emotional when Jake Paul pulled his hat off his head. The whole gotcha hat moment was born. First of all, what were your thoughts on that whole moment? And I'm assuming you were there for that?
So I wasn't there at that one, on this one. Okay, so this one I wasn't there. I had to stay back. I had some real estate stuff I had to take care of, which kind of sucked. When I saw that happening, I wished I was there, because that would have probably been a little bit different of a moment. I don't know what would happen. I don't know how I would act, but I mean, I don't stand for people disrespecting or touching Floyd, as did my fellow colleagues, that they didn't stand for that either. Floyd, he untied Floyd's shoe. He talked about Floyd's baby mother that, passed away. There's certain things that you go too far. There's certain things that you go too far, and you're talking about people that are resting. We don't need to talk about people that are resting. At the point that he took Floyd's hat, I saw one of our security had grabbed him to, obviously get the hat back. And then Floyd went in, and I guess, it definitely looked like he was maybe emotional. But as soon as that's done, it's done. It's water under the bridge. It's gone. It doesn't get to him whatsoever. You saw how calm he was the next time he comes out. Like with Floyd, nothing is scripted. Everything is organic with him. But I would definitely say, in that sense, you got a guy who's not even part of the promotion at this point. Well, I mean, he ended up being. I think he stole his brother's platform at that point, which was, like, as a brother, that probably shouldn't have done that. But he wasn't even the one that was fighting, so he was out of line by doing that. So I mean, I don't want to go too much further in that, but because I wasn't there. But that was definitely not really a respectful thing to do. But I guess that's how that guy's made his name. But there's no bad blood. There's nothing there. There's that's just water in the bridge. Floyd just shakes that off like it's nothing. But I would definitely say that, speaking about about people that are resting, that's way too far.
So what were your thoughts on the Logan Paul fight for Floyd? I guess he held on for dear life. Yeah. I mean, he held on for dear life. I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. He's a big guy. I'm a big guy. I see the way Floyd beats up on people. The first thing I would do would be go grab him and just hang on. But I mean, I'd say fair play by him. He grabbed him. He held on for dear life. He didn't want to fight him. I mean, if that went a few more rounds, he would have probably would have hurt that guy bad. It's probably a good thing it only went 8 rounds. Even with the Conor thing, at some point, these guys don't have the stamina Floyd does, and it's unloading time. Conor went 10 rounds. Had Conor went 8 rounds, maybe he would have survived. And everyone said, "Oh, he's the greatest boxer of all time." But now all of a sudden you got 2 more rounds, and there's a difference. Boxing's a 12-round fight. This was an exhibition. Floyd is almost 45 years old. There's not going to be, it's not going to be like a real. No, I don't want to say real, because it's very real in there, but it's not like
your traditional 12-round fight. 12-round fight he would never do. There would be no way. It would be suicide for him if he did that. I don't want to say it like that. It would be the worst move of his life if he chose to do a 12-round fight with Floyd. He could hang on for 8 rounds. By the second round, he was getting tired. I give him props for lasting. I probably would have done it. Like I said, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have grabbed him and held on for dear life and tried to just kind of survive. That's what he was in survival mode. That's what he was doing. There was nothing. There was no threat to Floyd whatsoever. Floyd picked him off like child's play. But it was, he hung on, and that's. And I guess in his eyes, that's a win. I mean, if I survive 8 rounds with Floyd, I would I'd be happy too, because I'm not knocked out on the canvas. But at some point, you're not going to be able to hang on anymore, and that's where the 8 rounds came into play for him, as opposed to 12. On a 12-round fight, there is no way he would have been able to keep on hanging on, because your arms are going to start going, limp, and you're not going to be able to not even hang on anymore. So. And then at that point, Floyd's not even breaking a sweat. So I can't even imagine what it's like fighting against a guy who's not breaking a sweat, and you're starting to get tired. You're starting breathing. You're sweating like crazy, and you're breathing super heavy, and this guy still has full energy. You're like, oh man, I got 4 or 5 more rounds to go. Oh my god. So, yeah, definitely, good play to him. He hung on for dear life. He hung on for dear life, and he survived. And I guess that gets him probably some good promotion for his next fight, whether he fights, I don't know, whether he fights Anderson Silva or whatever. I mean, it's a decent little, not little, obviously big payday. That'll be a nice payday for him. He did, I guess their plan was just to survive, because there was obviously no way that he was going to affect Floyd in any way with any of his punches or anything that he had for him. There was nothing that he had for Floyd, like nothing. So.
Do you want to see Floyd box again?
You got good questions. That must be the Canadian. Yeah, you have good questions. Those are very good questions, because these are not typical questions, and these are questions that should be asked. I do and I don't. The do part is because of how big it is and how great it is, and because it's a spectacle. It's crazy. I don't, because he's family and like a brother to me, and at some point you don't want to take more punishment to your head. So for me, as him being family and a brother to me, no, I don't want to see him fight again, because he's done everything he needs to do in the sport. He doesn't need to do anything else. But the fan part of me, like in terms of the fan of boxing part of me, of course, who doesn't want to see Floyd in there? But as his friend, no, I would never tell him he should fight. I would never suggest him to fight anymore. I'll support him on whatever he does, whether he does or doesn't. If he does decide to fight, I'm there 100% with him. If he doesn't decide to fight, I'm there 100% with him. It makes no difference in that sense. But as his family and his brother, I would say, no, I don't want to see him fight, because I see what happened to guys like Muhammad Ali or a lot of boxers. Like I've seen, obviously I've been around a lot of boxers, and some of them don't call it quits in time, or some of them, it doesn't even matter about time. They've just taken so much punishment that, it affects them. Like his uncle Roger that passed away, rest in peace to Roger. These guys, these fighters, like these boxers, take so much punishment. So for me to say I want to see him to fight again would be selfish of me. So as a family and as feeling like family to him, I would definitely say no, but I support him 100% in whatever he wants to do. As a fan, on the other side, of course, everyone wants to see him fight. That's the reason why he has such a big audience. So, yeah, that's a great question, though. That's a great question, because that's something we talk about. Like Floyd will say, hey, people got to know, when to call it quits and stuff like that. That's why he does exhibitions. They're a lot lighter, like they're not like, because certain fighters have to fight. Certain fighters have to fight, and that's a bad position to be in, because now you put you in a position where you have to fight, and you're an older guy. So like someone that's older, like Pacquiao's about to fight Spence. So, I pray for his, I pray for his safety as well, because I don't want to see anyone get hurt. I hate seeing people get hurt in boxing, because at the end of the day, it's a sport, but it's not a sport. Like it's like you don't play boxing, and I see it because I'm around it all the time. And these guys, it's not just the fight that you're watching on TV. It's like, hey, that doesn't look that bad. He took 3 punches. No, you don't see how many punches people take in training. That's where it is. You're getting your head bashed around. Like, I see all these kids, like they're getting punched hard in their head repeatedly. And it's a violent sport. So there's a lot of people in, I would say, like, I've done some Brazilian jiu-jitsu and karate, so I would consider myself myself, if I were to have pursued a fighting career, I would have done MMA. I love MMA. I love it. I love watching it. UFC, Bellator, I love it. I love watching boxing as well, obviously being in the world of boxing. But a lot of people have a misconception that they say it's not real fighting. I guess at one point Conor said that's not a real fight. I assure you, it's extremely real if you're around it. So just listening to someone, what they say, that's just their way of trying to get to some. It's extremely real fighting, especially with a sport that has had countless amounts of deaths from inside the boxing ring to stuff that's directly related to that fight that they had, that they die later. There's countless. And in MMA, I'm not sure if there's any at all. I think maybe one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you know. I don't think there's even one that there's been like death within the ring, or
there's never been a death
one, right?
in the UFC, and obviously that is like the hallmark promotion. There has been cases, I do believe, in smaller promotions. Not many though. Like, it would be a handful.
So, and I believe obviously the reason is the repeated blows that you're taking to the head in training and in the fight. Whereas UFC, you can get somebody to tap out, so that's not going to affect you, like your brain wise. Obviously, you're taking shots, you're taking kicks to the head. So it's obviously, I'm not discounting MMA whatsoever, because had I pursued a fighting career, I would have been in MMA and not boxing. But now being in boxing and seeing what these kids and these guys go through to train day in and day out, to say that it's not a real sport is the utmost disrespect. And I would invite anybody who thinks it's not a real sport to come and box these guys and see if you think it's a real sport at that point. And it's just sad to see that that's been like a trend. A few of the MMA guys say that, but there are a lot of, I would say there's 90% of MMA guys that really respect boxing and understand that boxing is definitely a real fight. I understand what they're saying. It's not like they're saying it's not a street fight where we can go to the ground. But if you really want to get technical like this, then we can say none of it's real fighting. The real fighting is done World War I, World War II, where your life is literally on the line, where you know what I'm saying? Like, war is real fighting. Like our military that protects us, or people that are deployed that we don't even think about, that we have our freedoms because of. That's real fighting. If we want to go there, you kind of see what I'm saying? Like real fighting, or where somebody has a knife and a guy doesn't have a knife. This is real fighting on the street.
Yeah, so what you're saying is real fighting doesn't have, rounds and time limits and rules.
Right.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
So just as much as the MMA, certain MMA people, whether they're fighters or in the community, like to discount boxers, I can do the exact same thing to anything, whether it's MMA, boxing, whether it's a street fight that these guys say, okay, we're just going to stand up and we're going to fight. It's a real fight. None of that's real. Real is when you're in a supermarket and some guy pulls out a gun and he says, okay, give me all your money, the guy. Now what are you going to do? Now you're in a real situation. You know what I mean? Like, I can make it look like I discount any of that fighting, but it's disrespectful to do so, because these are real fights. All of it's real. When you're in the ring, it's real. I'm sure it's very real to whether you're an MMA or boxing guy. Like, these guys are getting hit in their head by the strongest punchers in the world. Like, now they have this bare knuckle league. Now people are saying, oh, that's much more real because it's bare knuckle. Okay, fine. It is real, and it's also, everything's real. But put on those boxing gloves, and I challenge people to take a hit by a boxer in those boxing gloves, and you'll see how real it is. It's not a joke. And that's why there's countless amounts of deaths. So to say that it's not real, to disrespect the people that lost their lives in the ring, can you look at their family in the face and say, that wasn't real fighting that your loved one was in? I'm pretty sure it's real to them, though. You know what I mean? So I've had this argument a few times with people, and I just, obviously I don't or I've said that a few times. I've literally posted that a couple times on maybe a couple of Floyd's posts or my posts, because people say it's not that, so I'll address it all at once. So to say that it's, disrespectful, we should show, you should show respect for the people that have died in the ring, that we're just trying to support the family. Like, I think it was, what was this boxer's name? Oh my God, the Italian guy. That was the last 15-round fight when they changed from 15 rounds to 12 rounds because how dangerous. He punched the Korean guy and he killed the Korean guy in the ring. It was Ray. Oh man, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank right now. But oh man, I'm gonna be mad at myself for this later. But anyway, so the 15-round fight, there was where it was the Italian boxer from the Bronx or from New York somewhere. He killed. I don't want to say killed. When they were boxing, the Korean guy had passed away, I guess, in the ring. It was a 15-round fight, and from there,
yeah, Ray Mancini.
There we go, Ray Mancini. Thank you. Oh my God, I would have been so mad at myself later if I didn't get that name out. Yeah, Ray Mancini. Yep. It was against the Korean, and he, how tragic is that? And go tell that guy's family now that wasn't a real fight. And then they literally changed 15 rounds to, 12 rounds. Tell Muhammad Ali's family that he never was in a real fight. Tell all these legends families that they were never in a real fight. You can't. You can't. So it's just. I think it's just more of like, people that like to troll or, don't understand, obviously, that say that kind of stuff. Once in a while it's sad to see, but you have a couple MMA guys that say, oh, that's not real fighting. But, I mean, it is very real fighting. So.
Well, a lot of it's the classic armchair quarterback type thing too, right? I mean, you're not the one, you're watching a boxing fight and you're not getting punched in the face. You're like, well, why can't that guy?
Right.
It's the same idea if you're watching NFL, hockey, whatever it is.
Exactly. And I played hockey my whole life, so if people want to stand in front of one of those, like sometimes they say, oh, hockey, like out here, because, in the United States, they're like, oh, it's all about football, and hockey's not as tough as they think. Okay, put on the skates and see if you can handle getting 40 miles an hour straight at you, but by 230-pound, 250-pound person smashing you into glass with what you think is a lot of equipment, but it's not. Like these guys, it's just the, like you said, it's just the disrespect from the people that don't know. I remember Conor had mentioned it's not real. It's not even a real fight. So then people, they start taking what he says and bringing it more and more to life, and it's like, really, like okay, but it's very real fighting. Just like MMA is as well. It's very real fighting. It's a sport, but it's not something that you play. These guys are getting hurt, like they're breaking their legs or they're breaking arms or they're getting stitches. And these guys they're warriors, man. Whether it's boxing or MMA, they get the same amount of respect. They're warriors.
So interesting to talk to somebody that's so close to like the show, really, but also it's a position that you don't really know too much about. I mean, the average person doesn't know what it's like to work in security.
Right. And we're literally behind the scenes and everything. Like we are like in the furthest part of the person's personal life. Like we're just like we are behind the scenes like crazy. And now obviously I've become, I'm not as behind the scenes anymore because a lot of people know who I am now because of whether it's the Conor fight or whether it's like, that's another thing that a lot of people ask me is obviously the shooting in 2018 that occurred, taking a bullet for him and then being all over the news. Then it's like, that even further solidifies your role as like someone who's a staple in Floyd Mayweather's security and longtime, family, brother, security bodyguard for him. So it's, it's definitely been a journey, and I like to share it with you. I like to, tell people what it's like because, 8 years ago, I'm that guy wondering, so why not share it with people? I have the platform. I like to, I like to let people understand or feel what it's like to be on the side of it. It's not always like most people are like, hey, I want to be part of the community. I want to be a bodyguard. It's not always what you see. It's hard work. You give up your regular life, and you sign up that we might get ambushed and shot at. I was shot, and this is kind of stuff that's very real. So that's the part that they don't want. They just want the front row tickets to the fights, and they want the first class flights, and that's all the in between stuff. The stuff that we really do is we're in between crowds, separating crowds, looking for weapons, looking for attacks, looking for people swarming him, or sweating in the middle of heat, like we were just talking. How hot it is up there. Imagine we're walking through somewhere outside, and now I got 1,000 people around me.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's for sure not easy. People see only the good parts of it, but there's definitely the behind the scenes, and I'm glad I can share it with some people.
Yeah, I mean that with the 2018, it was a drive-by shooting, right? I know that was definitely covered quite a bit when it came out. I remember reading it years ago. Do you think, that obviously that's as real as it gets right there. Do you think that changed your relationship with Floyd? Did that give you also maybe a new perspective on the job? Because you can run simulations all you want, and you can think about these moments, but it actually happened at that point.
And you're 100% right. I would say it did and it didn't. I'll say it didn't in the ways that I know what I signed up for. It's always possible to happen. I can say it did because, we don't sit there and just talk about, hey, I took a bullet for you, or I took a bullet. We don't just sit there and talk about hey, this happened or that happened. We understand. We understand that this is part of it. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just the actual risk of what goes on. There's going to be people that are angry for whatever reason, or haters, and willing to take people's lives like they're nothing, and it's sad. It's sad to see that this even occurs, but it's part of it. It's part of the job. I don't know if that brought Floyd and I closer or not, but through the years, as your relationship develops through the years, time is definitely a developer relationship, and the loyalty that he has is ridiculous. He's one of the most loyal people on the planet that I know. Not just a celebrity, like anybody. He's super loyal, and in turn, it's very easy to be loyal to him. So something like that happening, if it happens again, I would do it again. And we got shot at 12 times. The car got hit 6 times. I got hit in my leg. We got totally ambushed from a different street over. It was from an appearance that we had that was scheduled. So obviously, it must have been pre-planned on their part or whatever. And so that kind of stuff happens. It's very real. So moving forward, can happen again. Absolutely, can happen again. Do I know that? Yes, I do know that. Does my family know that? Now they do. So the people that say they want to be part of it, they want to be part of the good parts.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be part of the bad parts, but the bad parts of it come with the job. They're sacrificing to get, the triumph. So people don't want that's, Floyd's career. Everyone wants to be, what do we say? What's the saying? Everyone wants to be money made, but they don't want to train like Pretty Boy. They all want to be Floyd Mayweather. It's like the glitz and glamour of being Floyd Mayweather, but they don't want to do the training that goes with it.
Yeah.
So they don't see that behind the scenes stuff, but it's definitely very real. That's actually the more real part of the job. They're just going to see the fun parts where I'm on a first class flight somewhere, or I'm in a high class hotel, or I'm sitting front row at a fight, or we're skating at the skating rink, like you just posted the other day when Usher came by the skating rink. They see that, oh, you do this, that. But, we do have great times together, but all the in betweens, we're working. Like when we go on tours, we're working. We're on a flight. I've been in 7 different countries in 9 days before. You're one country, next country, next country, next country, and you're on a flight, packing your bags, gone. It's not easy. It's very. At that point, those trips are physically demanding. You're tired. You're not really sleeping. You're going to different cities with different fans, and all over different countries, different languages, different demeanors, different aggression levels of crowds. There might be one guy who gets the crowd hyped up. and the whole crowd starts going in. You know, like after that press conference for Conor McGregor in Wembley, I think it was Wembley. That was the last one in England. When we ended up going back to our hotel, we got Floyd out of there. He got back to the hotel, and that's security. A couple of us will walk in with a couple of the guys because it was just right down the street. But everyone was on the street now, and it was a very rowdy crowd, and they were surrounding me. So it's a very real situation. We were warned about certain attacks over there and stuff like that. So now we're in a very real situation. Now you're at the mercy of a crowd of like 1,000 people. What do you do against that? I mean, you just gotta, you put your chin up, you have yourself some confidence, and it is what it is. And that confidence gets you to where you need to get to. So that got me to my hotel. I got in safely, obviously, but by that time the whole crowd was riled up, and they were like throwing stuff, and they were really rowdy, and it was bad. It's a lot worse than I'm saying, and like to the point where there were people around that were extremely scared, that were flush in the face, that were like very, very afraid. And I understand. I don't feel that kind of same fear in that sense in those kind of situations. I'm more like there's fight or flight. I'm more fight right away. There's certain people that that kind of thing is not their thing. Like they want to be comfortable and be safe. And there's certain people I saw around that were part of the audience or part of like the promotion on the other sides or whatever, they looked afraid because the crowd was getting very rowdy. These are very real situations. A crowd like that can turn on you, and there's nothing you can do against 1,000 people. You're just going to get stopped. Even if they just want to get to you, you get trampled. That's life and death there. So definitely very real situations.
It's obviously not the same thing, but if somebody's going to war, if they're going into a fight, like you just kind of have to accept that there's consequences that could happen. And once you accept it, same idea with you. You go out in a crowd of 1,000 people, you have to accept there's these kind of consequences. But then when you do, I mean, it's almost like you can operate a little more freely, I guess. Obviously, just like you're still aware of everything, but you're more like willing to be in that fire.
You're more focused as well. You're also more focused. But I'll say this, though. There's a lot of people that even do my job or do other things that may have not, and I hope they never have to be in a situation like that, that you're not sure what you're going to do until the situation happens. So when we were getting shot at, after I got shot, I actually didn't feel it. I felt like a flick on my leg, and I remember feeling an extreme blanket of calm coming over me. And it was very odd, very odd. And, a couple of people say, you were in shock. I was never in shock. I was just very calm. I was extremely calm. I was like, I didn't even understand. But in these kind of situations, you're going to learn about yourself in those situations. And I definitely learned about myself. So moving forward now, I know how to react in situations like that. That's not the first time I've been in a shootout. But that was the first time, obviously, I got hit. No one wants to get shot. But I understand these risks. And I don't want to say I don't have the fear because it sounds really bad, but like I don't have that foreplanned fear in my head, like, oh my God, I can get shot and die and blah, 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 like all that kind of stuff, which is very real. I just understand it's there, and I push forward. Mm-hmm. But I watch a lot of like the old like World War II footage and stuff like that, and I always wonder how those guys feel in that situation. Now my situation kind of seems minuscule compared to that, and I always wondered how they felt. How'd they feel knowing? Now I'm like, there's risk in my job. Those guys went in there knowing that only 50% of them, maybe, or 60% of them were coming home. So you're flipping a coin with your life. So I'm always intrigued to see how they felt. And I've not that I want to be in that situation, but I'm like, wow, how did those young kids feel at those times? Or people that are currently actively, going to war and stuff like that. How do they feel? Like that's stuff that you learn about yourself in those situations, and I watch a lot of like the interviews of people who were in Afghanistan or that were in like life and death situations and stuff like that, and how they put it into perspective. And I don't think it makes sense unless you're in it. So yeah, I always wonder how those guys feel. That's part of why I want to offer my services to the United States in some capacity to show I'm thankful for the opportunities here. But do I want to go in those situations? No. But I mean, are they very real for people like that, or like people in my job? Yeah, they're very real, and then you don't see, like, those guys might post a picture where they're in their uniform and a lot of people are cheering for them and it looks great. Hey, I want to be I want to join the military, but I guarantee you, it's not that. The way these guys are training and how the fights are going through, it's very, very real, and they're not going to show you all the rough and the bad parts. But there's actually a thing I watched on the World War II recently. It was like actual high def footage of not high def footage, what they call it, HD, World War II in HD, and I watched that, and you actually see what's really going on, like real camera footage of the war, and that's the part that nobody wants. They want the uniforms, they might want the attention or the glitz and the glamour of what comes with a specific job. I'm not talking about war in the sense, I'm talking about any job, like my job, for example, but they don't want the bad parts.
I was looking at your social media. It looks like you just got your American citizenship.
I did. That was a great thing. I got it after 12 years, but I could have went a little earlier. I was eligible, but I decided to wait for whatever reason. Sometimes we just life happens and you wait. But I applied for it last March 2020, and it took from that point till June 17th to get it to get me get my full naturalization. So now I've already updated my Social Security, and then I got to do my passport. Actually, I got to go get a passport photo and start getting that process going. So it's pretty exciting. That was a good thing. Just sucks a little bit with COVID. I had to couldn't really share it with nobody because we were just in there by ourselves. We couldn't have any family or any friends in there. So, but other than that, I mean, it was a great feeling. When I first came over here, I ended up coming here in 2000, like the beginning of 2010, and staying. It's a process. Like when you come here, you're an immigrant, and you feel like, not that you don't belong, but you feel like, like the government is like, they got you. You go in for fingerprints. You go for, all your details, your birth certificate, this and that. So they got all your information. They got everything. Now you're starting a new life at whatever age you are. I happened to be 29 at the time I had started a new life, and you have no credit. You don't have anything. You're starting out as like a number on a paper where you're just like a nobody. It feels like at first, So it's difficult. Leaving Toronto, I had a successful flooring business nationwide. I used to do a lot of Walmarts and big box stores and stuff like that across Canada. And then coming over here, I couldn't work. You can't work when you just apply. So I'm applying for citizenship. You're applying for residency status. So it takes a little while, and then you got to wait for your Social Security. You got to wait for all this stuff. You can't start working without a Social Security. So it's a tough first little while between first few years. It's really tough not being able to work or do much. Coming from Canada, making great money in Canada. I had a company over there. I was killing it over there. But I just got kind of just felt kind of stagnant, and like I was bored in Canada, and I don't want to say in Canada because that sounds like that. I was just bored of where I was, like my life over there. I was just I was traveling down the United States, and I liked the weather. I liked the opportunities down here. So I dropped everything. I sold my house in Toronto, and came down here. Then it took me a little while to establish any kind of credit. That's the hardest part is the fact that you come here and you have no credit at all. So like you can't get a car, you can't get a house. They won't even take you for rent really, because it's like, hey, I'm just this, I'm an immigrant right now. I have a residency status, and I have no credit. So when they do a background check on you, it's not like they're getting a low credit score, like a 500. Like one guy literally told me once, he goes, hey man, you have no credit. So basically, like, he goes, it's worse than having bad credit, because bad credit we can adjust and we know where you're at, but you have no credit, so we have no history on you. So those are like some of the difficulties I had to deal with. Culture wise, it's a bit obviously different than Canadian culture. We have a lot of different things. Obviously, everyone like teases you or whatever when you say A and stuff like that, but that gets pretty old pretty quick. It's like, all right, man, I've heard that about 5 million times. So other than that, like, not much. Like language wise, obviously, it's not as difficult as going to another country where the language is totally different. So that was obviously a big bonus. But yeah, definitely well worth it. And all those things accumulated, and put together make it so worth it. 10, 11, 12 years later when I got my, actually it's 11 and a half exactly years later when I got my citizenship, it feels real, real, real good. So I came from literally not being able to work with no credit, to literally at one point I was living out of a car for a week, out of a truck actually for a week, to not knowing if I was going to go home or stay. But I said to myself, I'm not a quitter. If I went home, I would have felt defeated, like I failed. So I stayed.